One of the most common reasons we stay stuck in our anxiety is a lack of action. We have this belief that thinking about something over and over and over again until we find the perfect moment or the perfect solution is going to help us make a better decision or take better action. But more often, we end up not making any decisions at all and we stay stuck in our anxiety. And this anxiety can be present in any area of our life. About 2 months ago, I got a text from a friend inviting me to go on a hike with him over a weekend. And once I got this text, I started thinking, should I go, should I not? And the more I thought about it, I felt myself start drifting into this feeling of anxiety, start moving into this anxious zone. Now, I looked at my calendar and I saw that I had nothing scheduled for the weekend. And I know myself and I know that I enjoy hiking. But I found that the more that I thought about making what should have been an easy decision, the more I entered into this weird anxious zone of overthinking and ruminating and trying to weigh out whether this was the perfect use of time, whether this was the perfect decision for the weekend. And I started weighing out all my imaginary options in my head, trying to figure out if this is something I should commit to or not. And when I noticed that I was starting to spiral into this anxious zone, I made a decision to commit to the hike and I decided to take decisive action. And I saw that as soon as I made a decision and took decisive action, my anxiety in that moment completely went away. My name is Travis, and I'm a therapist who's passionate about self-development, and today we're going to go into how learning to take decisive action can be an antidote to so much anxiety. It's important to first understand the connection between being indecisive and being anxious. Anxiety is our body's alarm system. It essentially tries to warn us about things that may be threatening or dangerous to us. Thousands of years ago, this may have looked like being on edge or being extra aware when you're walking in the woods so that you don't get eaten by a predator. But nowadays, this looks more like being a little bit extra aware and a little bit nervous to approach your coworkers or your boss about something because you're worried that you might lose your job and all your money. Now, a healthy amount of anxiety can actually be a good thing if we're actually in a dangerous situation. But often, our anxiety alarm system is overactive and warns us about things that aren't actually dangerous or a threat to us. And the more we overanalyze situations, the more we ruminate on thoughts, the more our anxiety has a chance to build up, which actually hurts us in the decision-making process. The more we avoid action, the more our anxieties actually grow. This is why anxiety thrives off indecision. The more time we spend ruminating and preventing ourselves from making a decision, the more positive feedback we give to our anxiety system, telling it it's doing a good job in protecting us from a threat that we've imagined. So if indecision increases anxiety, it makes sense that the opposite or the antidote to anxiety would be taking decisive action. Taking action helps to reduce our anxiety because it sends the proper feedback loops to our brain, telling us that we can actually handle a situation that's in front of us instead of our anxiety continuing to warn us that it's a threat, that it's unmanageable, that it's something much bigger than it actually is. By taking decisive action, we're essentially building positive feedback loops, positive patterns in our brain, which over time builds our confidence in our ability to handle anxiety-provoking situations. So what does this actually look like? Let's say someone is having some social anxiety at work and they're nervous to approach their coworkers or their boss about any issues that may come up, about anything going on, or just general conversation. The more this person ruminates in their anxiety and stays in thinking mode, the more that they're going to reinforce the anxiety to continue warning them and setting off these anxious feelings in the body, and it's going to continue to prevent them from doing anything about it. They're going to continue feeling worse and worse the more they ruminate on it. They're reinforcing this thinking pattern and telling the brain that this is something appropriate and necessary to worry about. But if this person decides to take decisive action and starts bringing up things with their coworkers, starts bringing up things to their boss, the more they're able to train themselves that this is an okay action to take. And they train their brain that, okay, brain, you don't have to be so worried about this. You don't have to be so anxious and set off the alarm system every time I think about doing something. Essentially, this comes down to a sort of exposure model where the more we do a pattern, the more it reinforces in our brain and our body one way or another. The more we reinforce doing action and that it's okay to do action, our body and mind will become more comfortable with doing so. The more we refrain from doing action, the more we're training ourselves that this is something appropriate to worry about. So practically, what do? We need to learn to practically take small steps towards our goals or taking decisive action in small capacities in order to not let the anxious thoughts just sit and grow. A common pitfall we fall into is waiting for the perfect moment to take action. And the truth is, there's no such thing as the perfect moment. There's no such thing. We can get that out of our head. We often sit and wait and say, okay, if I just do this tomorrow, it'll be perfect. If I just do this then. If I just keep pushing it off, I'm waiting for the right moment. This can look like waiting to go to the gym. I want to have the perfect workout routine. I want the weather to be just right to start going on a run. If someone wants to start a business, people say, okay, I'm going to wait for the perfect moment for the stars to align, essentially. And the truth is, this never really happens. Yes, we want to be calculated, and some moments may be better than others to take decisive action, but waiting for a moment to be perfect and just putting off our goals and just putting off the next practical step is ultimately really going to hurt us and continue increasing our anxiety as we continue to ruminate on what we should do rather than just doing it. So here's what you can practically do today. Look into your life, look into your goals and say, okay, this is one thing that I've been pushing off. Maybe this is a really big goal. Let's say it's going to the gym and you're pushing it off. Break that thing down into the smallest possible next step and just take that action. Whether that's you want to start exercising, but you're trying to wait for the perfect routine, the perfect moment, just do a push-up, just do something. Let's say you want to record a YouTube video, something like this, just record, just set up the channel, just do something action-oriented. Take a decisive action, and oftentimes what we'll find is the more we take decisive action, the more our anxiety goes away. It doesn't matter how small the steps we take are, but doing something action-oriented, doing something towards our goals instead of just thinking about our goals can drastically reduce our anxiety. It really is as simple as that, because the more we take action, the more we continue to train this pattern in our brain to take action instead of overthinking. The more we train our brain that it's okay to take action, and the more we move away from this anxious pattern of procrastination, which ultimately just reinforces itself. If you found this video valuable, I encourage you to subscribe, share this with a friend who may benefit from it, leave a comment on something that you found helpful in managing anxiety, and remember to hit life on all cylinders.